This is Stuart, showing a tutorial for a storage system I showed a few weeks or months ago, something like that. This is the storage system based off of Tango Tech's original mechanism, but designed to be a lot cheaper and simpler to make. The general system is modular, with a starting module here that manages the timing and input of items into the system, followed by individual modules that look about like this. Now the first important thing to note about this system is that there's a distinct difference between the two chest high modules and the larger modules. If you only want to have two chests high, then you only need a one block divider between each module, and you can set it up like this. However, if you want 3, 4, or any number of chests higher than that for each row, you will have to add an extra space between these rows of chests because of preventing interference between two systems. You could theoretically put the two right next to each other, but the main issue you would come up with is a lot of extra noise whenever the system is running. It would be nowhere near as silent as it is with this design. So if you want more than two chests in a stack, you'll have to add an additional divider. However, with either system, you do have the ability to turn corners and have larger divisions in the system. So that is the only major decision to be made. And I will show tutorials of both variations, but let's start with the starter circuit that is the same between each one. Now right here I have all the materials you will need to build the starting circuit. The top row is the basic one that does everything you'll need, but below that I have an additional creation that you can add on to it that will remove the need for a lever and make it turn on whenever items are entered rather than a lever determining whether the system is running in the background. As whenever the system is on, there will be a redstone action changing. It doesn't make much difference in the performance, but it's preferable to be able to switch it off. So yeah, if you want the additional timing circuit, it's still pretty cheap, but it also works without it. So resources are right here for the initial system. Now, for each module, you will need these resources. The top row is all resources needed for the base module with just two chests. If you are on any phone device or Switch or Windows 10 edition, anything other than Java edition of Minecraft, you will also need an additional redstone dust and repeater for every module because of some features of redstone in Java edition that don't transfer directly over to Bedrock edition. However, those are the only additional resources you need, and it is a very simple fix. Now, if you are going for the larger version of the system, it's not a straight comparison because there are some changes need to be made to the original, but this is for every additional 2 chests in a module. So if you're adding only 1 chest, making a 3 chest tall module, you'll need only some of these resources, but the conversion is messy, and this is a pretty good approximation of what you'll need. For the initial setup for building the initial system, you'll want to figure out where your first chests are, and then one block to the right of that, you will set up your dropper. Now you'll want to place it facing upwards, one block below whatever your system is, and one block above your top chest. So whatever height you're looking for in your chests, place it one block above that, and then your water stream or hopper line will go one block above the dropper. Now, first few things you want to do, you'll place a comparator facing away from the chests, out the dropper, a block in front of that, a sticky piston next to that block, and a sandstone right there. And as part of your first module, there will be a block here, which will have a torch on its face, and this will be the basic input system, so that any items placed in your dropper will be spat out into your water stream or hopper line. Now, not directly underneath that, so one block farther away from the chests, you're going to want to place a set of 4 hoppers facing into each other. Now, it could be going either direction, that doesn't matter, but just a set of 4 hoppers, one block away, and not directly underneath the redstone torch. Place whatever item you want into that set, and then 2 comparators out of this side. A redstone dust there, and a redstone rapier lining up with the dropper. Now that is the most basic input system. If you place a lever here, then the start of your sorting system will be completely set up. But if you want additional timing circuit, if you don't want to use a lever, then you'll want to place a redstone rapier coming out of the same block as the sticky piston, with a block after it, 2 redstone dust, 2 redstone comparators in a line going away from the block, a block after that with a redstone dust next to it, and then 2 redstone comparators going back into the initial 2 dust. And then you'll add a redstone torch there. And now, whenever you put items into the system, the timer will be activated for a certain amount of time. If you have more than 3 or so modules, you will want to add additional comparators just like this. And however many you add will determine how far your last item in the dropper will travel before the system shuts off. Any item that doesn't reach its destination will be just held in the system and won't cause any issues, but it's advantageous for all your items to be sorted the first way around. Alright, so now I am going to show you how to build the modules, the basic modules for each set of chests. I'm going to start with the 2 high version and then build the 3 higher versions separately. So the first thing you want to do is mine out the 2 blocks directly behind your chests, and lining up with the block before each set of chests, you'll dig out 2 more blocks there, and then one block on the other end facing outward. Then you'll mine out 1 lower on these 3 spots. Place a redstone torch in each of these holes, and redstone dust in here. I am building 2 modules simultaneously, but I am also building them top down because that tends to be a lot easier. Or bottom up, I mean. Alright, so once we get those sections, we'll place 2 blocks like this, redstone dust on top of that, and then we'll spin around and put a redstone comparator facing out of here. Now, we're going to make the 2 dropper towers, all of which are facing upwards. And they will go from 1 block below the chest to 1 block above the chest. Then you will place a similar hopper facing into the bottom dropper, a hopper facing into each chest, and finally the top hopper faces into a random block that is not a chest or dropper. Once you have those setups done, you'll place a redstone repeater facing into each hopper set, a block in front of it on top of the comparator, a block on the end of each redstone line, each raised redstone line, and then a redstone torch on this inner edge. Now, if this is the last module that you are using, the rest of the parts are only for operating the dropper elevator and are not technically required for getting it to work right. However, if you do, for the ones that do need a dropper elevator, anything other than the last one, you'll place a redstone torch here, block above it, redstone torch on that block above that, and a redstone torch here. And I'll repeat it for this one just because. So, this is the whole module for a Java Edition system. If you are, you will also want a redstone comparator or a redstone repeater going from one module into one of these, into this specific block of the next module, so that it continues on. And the timing can be anything. If you have problems with items skipping the top chest, the first thing you should play around with is just adjusting the timings of these repeaters back here. Alright, so if you are on Bedrock Edition, which includes any mobile device, Switch, or Windows 10 Edition, or so forth, to adjust it properly, you're actually going to need an observer, and you'll want to do it before you build this particular section, but you're just going to put the observer facing out of this redstone torch into the bottom dropper. Now, getting out, you can remove this block, and then you just replace these pieces all on top of that. Alright, so once all of your chests have been filled with items, no empty slots should be there except in your miscellaneous very last chest. So fill all slots with items, and it can be any number of combinations of items. Once you've got that set up, you'll want to build your hopper chain or water stream. If you are using hoppers, it's very straightforward. Start at the end, place them facing this direction. Do not place any blocks above these redstone torches if you're using hopper lines. However, I'll demonstrate the water stream system because the hopper line is very straightforward. I say glass does look very good along this line, but it is entirely decorational and you can use whatever solid blocks you want for this. I do recommend, however, having a top block line to prevent items from flying out of the water stream. Now, I could recommend stopping each water stream after one full module. So starting here, we'd go over one full module and reach the one after it, with a sign. And you can adjust this, but this distance seems to be the best length. You do always want to have the sign above the hopper, because when the next dropper sends items out, they'll want to be moving along again. And it's the best place to have a gap without any items actually having to cross over that gap. But once you get that set up, you can just cover it up, and I don't really need that water source there, but just to demonstrate. And if we grab, say, a bunch of logs and place them in this dropper, I forgot to place this torch back. The items will start flowing through. And since it cannot go into either of these first chests, I will grab some redstone for more testing. And seems like some of my timing is off. I'm going to push that back a little bit, see if that helps. And that seems to have fixed it. So if you're using this setup, I'd recommend slightly longer pulses, but again, whatever distance you have between your modules, you'll want to play around with it. But if I put some redstone dust in here, take the acacia logs out, you'll see that it doesn't need to go out the second line, it just goes straight into this chest. And when this runs out of items, the system will continue running and toggling for a certain amount of time, and then it will automatically shut off and have no redstone action going on in the system at all. Alright, so now I've shown all the steps needed to make the basic system run. Now I will show you the additional steps needed to make a taller set of chests. You'll want to use the bottom base section is going to be exactly the same. You'll have an input repeater here, the same shape bottom section, all the same components. Your dropper line will be one higher than the number of chests you have. So will your hopper line. And it will generally contain the same redstone for much of the base. Now, the main differences come when you go any higher than about this point. Once you place in your whole base system, you will have a system of slabs going along up to just below the height of your hopper system. Put blocks in front of all of those, and redstone on top of all the slabs. And now the redstone can travel up the whole system without being interrupted. On any middle blocks facing directly into the hoppers, you'll place redstone repeaters. Actually, we don't want it to reach the full height of the hopper line. And in front of each redstone repeater, you will place a solid block. In front of the redstone dust, you will also place a solid block, but on these side blocks, you will have a redstone torch for each of them. And now for the hopper lines, you will just, once you get to the top redstone torch, you can just have another redstone torch on a line up to the top. and that should do it. The modifications for making this particular system Bedrock compatible are just the same. A single observer. And as another note, quick reminder that you cannot place them directly next to each other. These redstone torches would interfere with the dropper line. So your next pair of chests must have 2 blocks between them. Other than that, the hopper line or water stream will go at the same height, 2 blocks above the chest, and your input system will be placed at this level, but will run exactly the same. You will need some redstone to get down to this level, but you can also, but that is straight up redstone dust, probably going down in a spiral or such. And since it depends on height, that's a little harder to make a tutorial for. However, other than that one step, that should be everything you need to know. Have a nice day.